Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A light sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
T-shirts, everyone. You want to support the Crazy Life podcast as well as support a really, really awesome cause. We are shilling our T-shirts, folks. So, Brian, how do I get a T-shirt?
Well, you just contact us at one of the ways we tell you, at the end of the show or through social media, whatever, and let us know what shirt you want and what size. The price on them is, I forgot already. So, Heno, do you remember?
$12.
$12, like I said.
$12.
Yeah.
$2 goes for shipping.
Yep.
$10 goes to the charity of our choice.
Yep.
Which our charity of choice is?
We haven't decided that.
NAMI?
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
Brian.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's fine.
Do we want to
Our
redo?
local chapter?
No, I like it. We're just going with it.
We're going with it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with it, folks.
Yeah, it'll either be NAMI or it'll be something that's a local place a local thing that supports mental health initiatives or something to that effect. So, but basically, you end up getting a Crazy Life T-shirt, a very limited run of Crazy Life T-shirts, and help out a great cause. And you can wear it around to show off to all your pals that you enjoy our podcast.
And the front will have the Crazy Life logo that you know and love anytime you open up the podcast. And on the back will be our podcast and the list of all the other podcasts that have contributed to this wonderful cause of doing wonderful charitable things with the T-shirts. We have Pittsburgh Nerd who sent it to us. We have the History of Bad Ideas podcast. We have Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks. And we have who started it all?
Brian.
What? Why are we talking to me?
Because I don't.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm waiting for the image to load, actually. No. It was, oh my God.
Wonderful guys who's fired up this whole event.
Which is fabulous.
Yeah.
T-shirts for charity.
This is so great that we're just bombing left and right on this. I can't, the image won't open right now.
Record.
Well, I'm going to jump in here and talk about who's getting it next then.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, as has been the tradition from the beginning, which we have no idea where it started because it was so long ago and so successful.
It was Stuff That Matters.
Podcast, Stuff That Matters, yes. Yep. Thank you, Stuff That Matters.
People don't, yeah.
So they have sent it off to, one, and the next people sent it off to the next. And the Crazy Life has decided that we are going to nominate Shot of History podcast to be the next podcast that gets to participate in T-shirts for charity.
Yes.
Nice.
If everything goes well, everyone, by the end of this year, because we're only in March, and the more we keep moving, the more we'll do, is there's going to be a lot of money raised for charities. And go check out the other podcasts that have done it. You'll find out what charity their cause is going to, whether it's been a veterans fund or, something for children or, whatever it is. There's been, I'm sure Dark Angel and Pretty Freaks did something with animals.
Nah.
Well, just to kind of recap, everybody, T-shirts for sale, Crazy Life Podcast on the front, all fabulous podcast groups on the back. $12, $2 goes to shipping, $10 goes to a charity of our choice around mental health, and which of course is near and dear to our hearts. The next podcast is
Shot of History.
Shot of History, which can be found on Twitter at Shot of History.
So you guys are next up, and contact us. Get these T-shirts out there, folks. That's help us give back to a great charity, and as well as get the word out about the work that we do here. Let us know how your thoughts too.
And you can also find, like, the other shows that are listed are, well, first of all, go to, if on Twitter, hashtag payitforward 2017 to kind of see the other podcast too. But they're at STM underscore podcast. That's STM underscore podcast. DAPF pod, which is, or podcast, sorry, it's DAPF podcast on Twitter. At Bad Ideas Podcast, at Pittsburgh Nerd, and then, of course, we've already given you our information because, clearly you already know all those things. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
And if you send a message in, we'll let you know how to pay us. It'll probably be a PayPal account or something like that.
Yeah.
And once you do that, we'll give us your size, how many you want. And when they come in to us, we'll be sending them out to you.
Yep. And of course the sizes will have certain amounts available, so they will be a first come first serve situation. So just want to make sure that's put out there.
So drop it while it's hot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. So that being said, everybody, always remember, buy your T-shirts, wiggle your toes, and keep your breathing. Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess with the mostest, folks. And with me, as always, is Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, so real quick, I was texting with Neil today, and I'm like, hello, and he responded back with this like HHEEEEY, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to sound as gay as it did. I'm like, I heard it as hi.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's how you
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell. I knew you hate me.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do? That's what it is.
Yep. You full on hey.
Yep.
All that was missing was the smiley face with the jazz hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic Neil.
I just loved how we both were on the same page at the same moment. Yes, that's what happens when you've known each other for as long as Tony and Brian have.
Yeah.
and just everybody out there's nothing wrong with a good hey, because it's very appropriate in very, 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 very most situations, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if it bothers anyone, even better.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I like to use the gif of Jimmy. It's Jimmy Fallon, and you just see it's like hey all at the top, and he's holding hay. So I use that quite a bit. Yeah.
Perfect. Smiley faces right now is the one with the jazz hands, because I do love the fact that it's just a smiley with jazz hands. That's it. No arms, no nothing, just jazz hands.
Yeah, it's definitely got those arms hidden somewhere. It's kind of weird. Or it just has floating hands, which is even more terrifying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you happen to hear in the background two crazy cats, my puppy is on vacation right now. So
Oh, they're having a
Absolutely.
party.
Yeah.
Yes, the cats are partying, chasing each other, wrestling, and just having an all-out good time. Now that the puppy's not around to harass them.
They're excited. WrestleMania's this weekekend.
Yeah, they got to practice their moves.
Yep.
Frankie's got a mean armbar.
Good. It's a good move.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Worked for Ronda Rousey in MMA for a while. Not so much lately, but originally. Achilles has his heel. Yeah, true enough.
So, how was your guys' week? What's been going on?
Well, I've been out traveling.
Yeah, Heno, fill us in. I don't have any idea what you've been up to.
Yeah, I was in a room and your mother was talking to me like you weren't there either. So
Yeah, that's the way most people treat me. Oh, you're still here?
Yeah, exactly. She only did it twice, which I thought was pretty good. That's pretty good for mom conversations.
True.
Yeah, Brian's mom is pretty special. She's a unique lady, but pretty awesome.
That was really cool. When I was flying over, I kept thinking about it. Just kind of randomly popped into my head where it's like, I want to see where Brian went to high school. I want to see, I want to see the neighborhood you grew up in, that kind of thing, And we went for breakfast and went by the high school.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. So it was really awesome. And getting a chance to meet your mom was great. And then, went over and, T was hanging out with, Jeannie at the high residence. So I went over there and, spent the afternoon. We were just gabbing and having a good time and a little game night, a little podcast. It was so warm on Friday.
Yeah.
Just had like the windows open, the barbecue going, and it was
gorgeous
great.
on Friday. Yeah. That's why I told Heno when he got here, I was like, you have the best day of the week to be here, because it was like 71. It was windy, but whatever. It's 71 degrees.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, tomorrow it's going to be rainy, and by Sunday it was supposed to be like 49 for the high, So I was like, you're getting in and out of here right at the right time. Yeah,
it worked out perfect. And then, went and had some breakfast on Saturday morning, and eventually, skedaddled and drove down to Pittsburgh and made it down there. It was kind of cool as I was going across the turnpike and across over Ohio, there were a couple times where I was like, oh, I remember driving this when I was on tour. I was like, I remember the exact spots. Nice. I was like, oh, that's cool. It was like literally, it was a certain incline in a grade, and I'm like, oh, I remember driving up this.
Oh, wow.
Which was, it was kind of fun. I was like, it was just for some reason, it was just that kind of distinct, where it was like, oh, yeah, I remember this thing.
Yeah.
And then, had enough time to get to the hotel room, got checked in, and then headed over to the meet and greet at Dave & Buster's, and it was awesome. We ended up with they booked the 20 top, and we had to get another booth.
Cool.
So many people showed up.
Awesome.
And and so they had several of their they call them super fans.
Yeah.
People that regularly write into the show, and they were there, and it was just a great time was had by everybody.
And this was for Pittsburgh Nerd, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. And
right.
There. So if you want to, we have we obviously recorded Salty Language. We did kind of a roundtable again, like we did the year before. Mm-hmm. That was released on Monday, and Pittsburgh Nerd, their podcast was released too. And we ended up, they were ready to come over to my hotel room, and I'm like, no. I'm going to where the recording gets done.
Yeah.
I want to be in the space, because I've seen it in some Facebook Live stuff, and like always, it's just such a trip to be sitting there and hearing all the little lines and transitions and all that, but seeing them happen,
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of, it was a little weird for Sean too, because he kept laughing, too, because he'd say it and I'd suddenly start smiling,
Mm-hmm.
But so Sean and Ian, they're cousins, and they're cousins, and so you just know they're related. They have that we've known each other all our lives vibe.
Yeah.
And, it really was special. And I wish I had more time there. I said it several times that I will go back. It was my first time I'd ever been to Pittsburgh, and it was really great. And then, we didn't even start podcasting till 11 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
And we went till 2 a.m. I mean, I got back to the hotel at 3, got a couple hours of sleep, got up, dropped off the car, jumped on the plane and headed to Atlanta, and had Joe picked me up, relaxing day, just kind of I actually finally got to take a nap because I've been literally getting 2 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah.
I was like, I need some nap time here. And then we went and hooked up with my cousin and went to her house. And, I'd been to Atlanta before, but I never made the connection that they were there. Mm. And this was awesome because I haven't seen Helia in 20 years.
Oh, cool.
It was almost. It was the last time I went to Estonia. And the last time I went to Estonia was somewhere around 2000, probably just before. And we've never, when she was there, she had her husband and her kids were they were probably young teens, because I would have been around 30 and they would have been in high school or something. But I've never had a chance to sit down with her and just talk. It's always been within the context of, hey, these are, your guests or, whatever. And we had the most amazing time because it didn't take long for us as we're, sharing what's going on with both of our fathers, my uncle and her uncle, that we're related. We're very much related. You're just comparing notes and you're like, yeah, we're from the same family, and, we might have different mothers, but we are related through a couple of brothers for sure.
Yeah.
It was really special. And I made a sincere commitment that we will do this again. There's just no question about it, and because I didn't get to see Haley, her daughter, who I've actually I probably communicate more with on Facebook with Haley, but she was in Savannah for the weekend. So I definitely want to go back and see her. And then the next day, actually got a good night's sleep finally. And then the next morning I kind of got up and was, kind of figuring out, all right, what's it going to take to go see my uncle? Cause he's at an assisted living facility. And I had the directions and everything and did a quick look at where he was. And it was just like, yeah, I got to leave now, and so it was quickly throw everything into the bags. We just got loaded up and Joe took me. I had to go all the way, the opposite direction from where I needed to be for the airport, as far as possible. And I got in there and, he had dozed off in his chair and he was just watching TV and he knew I was coming and my dad had told him. They talked to him on Saturday. And so he reverted, he had a stroke and it wasn't that bad at first, but then it kind of spread a little bit. So his English, he was having a hard time with English. He was speaking Estonian to me, and he's already kind of mumbling, it was very quiet. Mm. And at first I was trying to understand what he was saying. And then it was like, no, don't try. Just, I know the language. My parents have spoken it to me my entire life.
Right.
Just hear him. And then it was like, oh, I knew exactly what he was asking me. And, it was small talk, but eventually, and Joe stayed outside for a while. I eventually brought her in and we got a picture. And if you go to my Facebook page, you can see the picture of me with him. And at the end, so my uncle's has always been a lot more kind of outgoing and social compared to my dad. My dad is very social anxiety. It's like when I was a kid and had friends over, my dad would be boom upstairs right away. Just, his interactions with humans are based on, requirement, not out of desire.
Yeah, sure.
Out of his way. And my uncle has it. But my uncle has learned to compensate for it and listening to him on the phone schmooze a customer service agent to change a phone call is a work of pure genius. Like my whole life, he does the poor foreigner. The accent gets a little thicker suddenly.
Right.
He sweet talks like, man, that man can sweet talk. It's like, but he was always the uncle that came and just a big smile. And like, my dad never smiles in photographs. My uncle does. It's like, there's just those little differences.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it was time to go, and he started to tear up a little bit, and it was just like, oh, my heart. Like, oh, yeah. And it's not like, we don't write to each other. We don't talk on the phone. I probably haven't seen him also in over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
But he's still family. He's still, he's my uncle. And, I gave him a hug. I told him I loved him, and he was bawling when I left. And I got out in the hallway, and I was just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Because it's like, he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that Helly and I talked about. I told her, honestly, it's like, my dad's done. He is. He's done. And so's my uncle. And they're 85 and 87. And, one thing we were joking about is Estonians are notoriously stoic and pragmatic, especially men are. It kind of comes along where you live, you're pretty much in darkness except for 3 months of the summer when you have light all day long. So your 3 months of light all day long is spent preparing for winter coming. It's like right out of Game of Thrones. It breeds a certain type of person.
Can you give us a little background on where Estonia is?
So if you find Finland, go straight down across the Baltic Sea. That's Estonia. It used to be part of the Soviet Union. So it's so Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania were the first three countries. Estonia is like the size of New Jersey. It's very small. It has its own culture. It's not Slavic. It's like Finnish. The culture is very much like Finnish. The language is like Old Finnish. The language is a bizarre language. It's not part of the whole Indo-European language tree. And it's a miracle that the country is surrounded by Slavic nations. It's been occupied by Germans and Danes and Swedes and Russians and it's never been gobbled up. And it really says a lot about the people. If you want to know something about Estonia, look up a video called The Singing Revolution. And it's all about Estonia's independence from the Soviet Union in 1990 and these song fests. And it is awesome. These are the kind of song festivals where there's 13,000 people on the stage.
Oh, wow.
Singing,
jeez.
and there's 35,000 in the rest of the amphitheater.
Wow.
And it's amazing. And you'll get a feel for the culture and the type of people they are. So, but I threw out there to my mom, like, all right, I'm like, I'm not going to force it, but it'd be great if the brothers could see each other again. The last time was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that I could possibly help my dad get out there, after the wedding and everything. And the response was, what do a couple of old men have to talk to each other? Just sit in a room and talk to each other. And I just started laughing because there's that stoic pragmatism right there. The phone is fine. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Is your dad and your uncle first generation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they came to the United States as they would have been teenagers.
Gotcha.
They were in displaced people's camps in Germany at the end of World War II, and then they came here. They actually worked in Seabrook Farms in Delaware, which was the first commercial frozen vegetable company.
Oh, okay.
Canning operation. Yeah, they invented it. It no longer exists, but all of their workforce were always foreigners. There were, Japanese or, whoever were the refugees at the time.
Okay.
Gotcha.
They would get work over at Seabrook Farms. And so that's why my dad and their whole family was from Delaware. And my mother was from Detroit. But yeah, so I left and, jumped on the plane, came home, Sharon's in Mexico right now. Wish could have been a longer trip, but it was really, amazing, seeing everybody.
Yeah, that was what we were saying. Jeannie, and I were talking about that. She's like, I wish I could have had more time with Henno. And I was like, yeah, me too. It's like it's, cause it really did. It was so like, like almost like you barely touched the ground and it was like, well, see ya. Yeah.
Yeah.
But me too. Yeah. Next time, Henno, we'll have to arrange something.
Yep. And that's, it just that it is the way it worked out with vacation time. And also, Sharon ended up just that she was leaving and it was perfect that she had left at like 6 a.m. and I got home late enough that the dogs weren't alone for too long, and, back to work this week. And
how was it with I know you've mentioned traveling before, but that was for longer periods of time. But with sobriety, and I'm sure you were surrounded by a lot of merrymaking over the long weekend. How was it for you?
What's funny is that for some reason over at Dave & Buster's, the bartender kept making the drink orders over and over. And the first time there was a drink order that came where like, yeah, you guys get 2 for the price of 1 because he asked, he didn't take the tag down and he made another order. It's like, it won't happen again.
Yeah.
It did. Like an entire order again. So my end of the table had drinks like up the wazoo.
Yeah.
And it turns out that everybody is into home brewing. So the conversation was about brewing your own wine, beer, whatever they'd all tried.
Yeah.
I noticed none of it. I just don't.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's
awesome,
where I'm at.
Though, that it doesn't even faze you or anything, which is great.
The only thing that it bought, it's like they'd when they went to the grocery store or went to the liquor store, whatever it was, T had found some, what was it? Some malt liquor by some company.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones
from Dark Horse. Yeah.
Dark Horse. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'd love to take a sip of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be great if I,
Trust me, no, you didn't.
No. Yeah, I know, but I did because it's malt liquor.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
experience everyone.
Yeah,
it's to share experiences like that. But it's not. And there's a reason I'm able to do 4 days and cram in everything that I could, and getting 2 hours of sleep here and there, and blah blah blah. And the fact that, and at my age, is because I'm sober and I live a clean lifestyle.
Yeah.
And more than that, I don't let stuff get to my head, and I don't freak out, and I don't stress. And I, and I thank you, and I thank my program, and I thank everything that has brought me to this point where, earlier in the week, it was still the money stuff was really getting to me. And it was like, no, I'm going to go have fun.
Yeah.
I can deal with the money stuff when I get back. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It'll be there, and it's not a dire emergency. Go enjoy yourself, because, when I got to Joe's, she just happens to she had to go buy a new computer. I mean, she's strapped. She has no money. And I'm like, don't worry, I got it. Let's go out for breakfast. Let's go out and have lunch. Let's go, I'm not going to let this, this stop us from doing things and having, a good time while I'm here.
Right.
But those are those kind of the things where it's like, today is the most important day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a quick question, Henno.
Sure.
So now, with the way that you kind of did this, to where it was kind of like boom, 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 across the weekend, essentially, are you feeling like this week, I mean, aside of obviously going back to work, but are you feeling any sort of an emotional hangover from it?
No, not at all, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, it is.
I really, I had a little bit of one last year after C2E2.
Yeah.
But it was a high. It wasn't a low at all.
Right.
That was an up, but cause we know other people that had that same experience, and then they had to come down.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened at Rose City.
Sure.
With a lot of people that really looked forward to this, made connections, and then really felt a come down afterwards. Big time. And I used to have that when I was younger. A lot. Like I would have those real lows. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a good reminder for me. That really was an MO for me, big time, was to go somewhere and then to get back and to like like wish I was there still.
Yeah.
And that I couldn't get past it, and I'd go into a funk, over it. And that doesn't happen to me anymore, and I'm glad. It's truly about being able to, we're going to be talking about this later, live for the moment,
Yeah.
It really is. It's what I've learned. I don't have that down. And I understand when people talk about it, but I also go, well, my experience says that you've got a hole in your soul if that's happening to you.
Yeah.
You have a hole somewhere that you're filling.
And that makes sense because you're sitting there, like instead of being here, I wish I was still wherever, or I wish I was doing this instead. So it's
because that filled you for a while. And what happens is in my experiences, then I chase those things.
Yeah.
I chase those experiences. And part of that's why I've chased love. That's why I've chased, sex. That's why I've chased accomplishments.
Right.
That's why I'm always up when I'm accomplishing or succeeding or checking off the boxes. But as soon as I wasn't, it was just, I felt empty. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was lost, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
That is my lifestyle. And then chasing a high is no different. And then the booze becomes the fill-in,
right,
for the down. So if it was the other way around, where I came back and I felt lost, I'd be drinking.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And then
sure.
Actually, I'd be wallowing in it, because there's nothing better than have some emotion to throw a couple down into.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, and then throw in some good music too that reminds you of what you just did over the last 2 days.
Right.
And let's really, really get deep and dark.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So no, it's a great question, because I don't have that anymore, and I'm glad I don't.
Good. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Well, I was curious because we've talked about it enough, that it is always curious to see where people fall with that.
So that's my trade-off. I didn't get to try the malt liquor, and I seamlessly got back into my work week.
Pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
You decide.
Well, as someone who tried the malt liquor, yeah.
How about you, Brian? How was your
it was a really interesting weekend and such for me, because I went out Thursday. Over to Tony. Well, I went out and over to Tony's on Friday because I hung out with Heno, and then later we recorded over there. And then Saturday I went out, and last night I went out, which for me is a lot of times going out within a short amount of time. And for the most part, I was fine. So, that helped that made me feel really good. I was feeling a little overwhelmed, Saturday night. I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday being on essentially 3 days in a row kind of was really starting to catch me a little bit. Also, Friday I had weird sleep because I didn't sleep much before Heno got here. Then we hung out. He left. I went in to take a nap and couldn't get to sleep for a little while. Fell asleep and forgot I was supposed to go over to Tony's house, basically. So Tony texted me. I wake up and I'm like, I was like, oh, sorry, I fell asleep, and then I fell back asleep for like an hour. And then I was like, oops. Yeah. So my sleep was kind of goofy along with it, which never helps, because going out changes my routine. If I don't sleep well, that changes my routine. And those things add up on the anxiety side of the weight scale, because you start feeling uncomfortable, with everything. But I had a really good time each of those nights, doing stuff. So it was well worth it for me to really push and go after it. The earlier part of this week, I was feeling it a little bit. Like Monday, I was kind of feeling, and actually Monday we recorded a podcast with another podcast. So I was kind of starting to feel it that way. Last night, I was really starting to feel, like when I got home, we went out for pub trivia last night. And when I got home, I was like, yeah, I need to, not do this for a couple days. I need to not be on for a couple of days again here, because I can feel, it's like I had talked before about how I couldn't feel my batteries going all the way down. Today, I'm feeling it, like through the day today, I was kind of like, just meh. Like, I felt a little irritable and just, was kind of wanting to be left alone or whatever. So, but it was worth it, like I said, it was fun, and it was not hard to do at the time, but then there were some of it where I kind of pushed through a little bit to see if I could, and did okay. So that's always good when that happens, and, like my win for the week would be, I've gone to pub trivia twice now, and both times we won. So, you're
a winner.
Yeah. I certainly didn't help the team much last night. The time before I helped quite a bit. Last night I was worthless for about better than half of it.
Right.
But, it was still fun to, go hang out with some folks, and then we stuck around a little bit after, cause, and people were starting to do karaoke, and which is always an interesting situation. I love, a lot of people get upset or whatever when somebody's bad at karaoke and they're like, oh, get off the stage kind of a thing. And I'm of the thought process that if you're going to get up there and fail gloriously,
Yes.
Like get up there
Absolutely.
and give it everything you have, even if you're not great. And there were a couple people that just got up there and just laid it all out there. And I applauded them strongly afterwards because, I admire their courage to go up and do it, because, maybe they don't know how bad they are, but if you're that bad, you still get up there and do it. It still takes something that, like, I'm not getting up there doing it. Like, there's no way. I'm too, like, my nerves would be too awful for me to go up there. I'd rather go run screaming out the door instead. So, I have some admiration for somebody who's able to just go, and just get up there and do it,
Right.
So, kudos to them. Yeah. There was, one for you, Jen, there was a duet that did, Somebody to Love, by Queen. And, yeah, they were something.
No.
Well, what ended up being the problem for them was that on the karaoke screen, it only had the words once, and the girl was kind of doing more of the background vocals.
Oh.
And the problem is that there's not two separate sets of words. So they were kind of feeling their way through, like, who's supposed to be singing this, and it was, so it was something.
It gets messy quick.
Yeah, it was something though. So I think that's about it for my week. So overall, really good. Good. A pretty good week. I did have one significant bad thing happen in my life, but which kind of is it kind of leads into the show topic too a little bit, which was my, one of my sisters-in-laws just unexpectedly passed away. Which is horrible for her kids and her family and everything. And, so that's been rough for me to see and such, but it's tough because I wasn't super close to her. So I don't want to say it doesn't affect me, but I feel almost cold toward it. And, which is not the first time I've had this kind of feeling, but it's, I feel horrible for the people that, I don't wish it on anybody, none of that kind of stuff. I hate that it's happened to my nieces and nephews and my brother and her family and everything. So it's, that part has really kind of sucked, but there's no part of that is like consumed me this week. So it's, like I said, overall the week was pretty good. So.
Yeah, it's always a positive when something really heavy and negative doesn't consume you and you don't get lost in it.
Right, and realistically what happened was, honestly, I was enjoying life enough that this didn't outweigh what was going on. Like, I was having a good time, And I don't mean in a, like, distracting me from real life kind of way. You know, it's just, you just kind of take it and roll with it and move through it, you know, rather than letting it completely stop everything. So now again, like I said, we weren't like super close, so there's a difference there too, but you know.
Yeah. And tomorrow with the funeral and everything,
it'll be a lot heavier tomorrow, sure.
It'll be a lot heavier.
For sure, yep.
A lot more real.
Yes,
when those things happen.
Exactly. Yeah, because it is. I've been through that before where I've had family members die and I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. And then I get to the funeral and you see everybody else so sad and the mood and everything. And you're just like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It gets heavy quick.
Yeah.
One thing that I have a friend of mine that says all the time, and I love it when he reminds me of it, is just that idea of being the right size for the situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's when you have those moments where you're like, yeah, this is the way you're supposed to feel right sized. Yeah. Where you can give the emotion and then you can have your natural human reaction to something without it just taking you over.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a reminder because I tend to not be right sized and let things get out of hand. Yeah, and if I have something to reflect on and go, okay, yeah, this was a time where I was right sized. Okay. Can I get to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what, with me being bipolar, being the right size for the moment is increasingly more difficult than for somebody without.
Sure.
Just because that's the nature of the beast. I have to check with people and I have to kind of check in and say, okay, is my reaction over the top, or am I in the wheelhouse, or am I going too far one way or another?
Well, I kind
of
go ahead.
Other people to help me judge that, because I have no idea what an appropriate reaction is for things.
And I've had to do that too with my situation because, as I've said on here before, I have a tendency to be distant sometimes, because of the isolation and such. Like I purposely put space between me and people almost. And so sometimes when things happen, there's been times where I'm like, should I be feeling different than this? 'Cause I don't, here's how I feel, is kind of like a, is this normal? Is this okay? Whatever type of situation. And for anyone listening, if you're similar and you don't feel like, if someone dies and you don't, like Jen's talked about on here before, everybody grieves differently. Some people need to just sob and just essentially break down and have to go through that. Other people are just kind of more like, I need to get back in my rhythm or my habits, back to work, whatever it is. And, there's sometimes with me though, I think a lot of it is I think I accept the situation a lot more than I used to. Like, I think I look at death differently now than I used to, I think in a lot of ways it's kind of like, it sucks that it happens, but it has to happen, and then, I feel just how I feel at the time, and then you move through it, so don't feel like however you're feeling is wrong. But it isn't a bad thing to maybe check with other people to kind of, see where your head's at a little bit too, And
I mean, it's interesting because, your dad, I think, put it best, when he was diagnosed terminal. And he, we were all upset, and he was sitting there and he wasn't all that upset. And I asked him why. And he said, because he knew what was going to happen to him, but he understands us being upset because we don't know a world without him.
Yeah.
And that always,
spoiler alert, it sucked. Anyway, no. Yeah.
But it was one of those moments that really resonated with me and still does to this day. Yeah. That I kind of look back on that and I'm like, okay, am I sad? And when I'm feeling all the emotions that I do, as anyone does around, death, I always stop myself and I'm like, okay, what am I really upset about? Am I upset because I'm hearing a really sad song and someone in front of me is crying? Or am I upset because I'm mourning the loss of this person in my life?
Yeah.
Or am I upset because I'm mourning the loss of this person in the world? because maybe they didn't have a direct effect on my life, but I'm mourning their loss for, for the world around us, and so it really kind of helps me to kind of put perspective around it, because sometimes it is just, I'm extra sad because I'm listening to an extra sad song and I'm with people who are extra sad.
Yep.
And it's just absorbing onto me. And that's fine. It's, it is what it is.
It's actually, it's a big reason why I have issues with funerals, is because I kind of feel like they're telling me how to feel by playing very somber, sad music and telling me about all this grief stuff and these things. And it's like, neither of those things does anything positive for me. I've never gotten any sort of positive feeling from a funeral, as far as that goes. I mean, I've been to some that are better than others, but none of them feel comforting. None of them help with the questions I have. For me, again, if other people have, that's fine. I'm just, for me. So I think that's part of the reason why, I mean, I know no one really likes going to funerals, but it's like, to me, it really seems like a waste to me. I've just kind of felt that way more and more as time goes on. And I think, like I said, I think the way I'm looking at death is different. It isn't that it's I'm accepting it or whatever. It's just that I'm looking at it more as, a necessary evil. It's part of the process. We're all working our way there. It's just a matter of what time, So, what you said about my dad actually, I think, is a great example of living in the moment.
Yes, it is.
I mean, if you really want to talk about living in the moment, as someone who's facing a terminal diagnosis, not borrowing from the future, not going, well, this is going to happen and I need to this. He was just like, it is what it is, like I'm, here I am,
Me, complete acceptance. And that really, I've learned a lot from your dad. I did. I learned a lot during that time. Yeah. It's a real growth period for me. And, and that was one of the things that really stood out. So, but this week I found myself in kind of an interesting situation. I got the opportunity to kind of pass along a lot of the stuff that we work on this podcast. And I had lots of opportunities, which is kind of unusual, because I had 3 distinct different people come to me, and I found myself quoting the show and quoting things that we had talked about,
right?
Which was it's cool and it's fun, and I love it when that happens, because 3 different people I got the chance to say, okay, so this is where you need to, my show has talked about, coping mechanisms and different things to kind of help you get through these stuff. And, all 3 of them, unfortunately, one of them, a friend lost someone kind of close to them and started getting involved in some drama and different things. And my advice to him was to kind of take yourself out of situations that are not beneficial for you, and recognize your role in things. And when you're being brought into stuff that's not, that you're not comfortable with, remove yourself from those situations.
Yeah.
Remove yourself from situations as you can that are not beneficial for you and your mental health and mental well-being. Another person I came to, that came about, and I was in quite interesting succession. Friday I talked to one person, Saturday I talked to a second person, and Sunday I talked to a third. So it was like boom, 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 boom.
You were being of service all over the place, huh?
I was. Yeah. I was just being of service like a rock star. But and then the third one, I ended up, a friend of mine broke up with her longtime boyfriend, and so I got to kind of talk her through different things. And the second person and my best friend that we're working through, both similar subjects. It's living for the day and not. I'm trying to think of the right words, because there's definitely, it's important for us to build a future, because us as humans, it's our nature to, especially, women have a tendency, I'm going to generalize, folks, just, bear with me. women, we like to nest, and we like to have, perfect plans, and we have a tendency to lay things out just a certain way, because this is what we want, and this is what's going to happen. And we try to fit everybody into our perfect little plan. And when people don't follow what we want them to, it's very disruptive. It's almost like we have to mourn that. That's how strong the feelings can be. It's almost like mourning our future plans when we can see that they're not going to come to fruition. I know guys do similar things and stuff like that. I can only speak from a female's perspective, but I think that's kind of why women get a bad reputation sometimes about being crazy about stuff and getting way too mentally attached to things. And we don't explain very well the fact that the reason we're upset isn't because you didn't fit into the mold per se. It's we have to mourn the future plans that we had with you in it, or with that involved this situation.
I heard it explained as we mourn the loss of what could have been.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Much better, much more eloquently put. But yes, we mourn the loss of what could have been. And that was where a lot of my thoughts and my service came from, is helping people through that and understanding that just because it's not coming together right now doesn't mean it may not, in the future. You never know. You can't plan the future. My friend told me, she's like, everything was so clear. My future was so clear, and now it's all cloudy again. To which I had to explain to her that, hon, it's always been cloudy. It may have seemed clear because you put some glasses on that kind of colored it a different way, but it's always been cloudy. There is no clear future for anyone. Only thing that's clear is this moment and is this day.
Yeah.
Everything else is circumspect. I mean, it's up for chance. Yeah, we can make some effects on it. We can put plans in place and try to arrange things a certain way and hope for the best. But it's still, you never know. You can't set it in concrete because it's going to change. Life shift.
Yep.
So it was interesting. I'm so glad I was able to be of service this week to people, and hopefully I helped them. I think I did. So
sounds like you helped your health. It sounds like you helped yourself though, and that's what's important.
I did, and I did. I helped myself, and it was a good week. And another thing that I'm really working on is one of my favorite sayings is perception is 9/10 of a situation. If you can't change the situation, you have to change your perception or your perception. I can't even talk. So you can also substitute perspective for perception. So in that phrase, I've been working really hard on that one, especially when it comes to work stuff. It's really been, I'm having to struggle through a lot of different emotions and really filter through those emotions and go, okay, is this fair? Is this just an emotion that I'm having, or is this rooted in reality, rooted in concrete factual things? Or is this just an emotion because of, maybe I got my feelings hurt, or maybe my ego got bruised a bit here, or maybe I'm a little on the jealous side. Are these just random emotions that I need to work through? Mm-hmm. Or is this action items that I need to actually take action on? So So that's the other thing that I've been kind of working through. Been kind of working through a lot lately, I guess. But that's life. That's what happens. So, but yeah, I'm my win for the week is being of service, and I'm very thrilled that I was able to be of service to so many people this week, and hopefully in this week it looks like I'm going to have more opportunity to be of service to more people. So, which is a good thing. It's a good place to be, and as we mentioned before, though, folks, something I am watching, and I highly recommend to watch you as well, is that you can only give from a cup that's filled. So you've got to make sure that you fill your cup so that when you're in those positions to give, you've got it to be able to give.
Yeah.
So. I heard I didn't hear. I read a meme today that I loved. It said, givers need to have limits because takers don't have any.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I was like, that is so true. That's why if you're a giver by nature, it's okay to have limits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the people in your life that are takers, they have none.
Well, something I always say to people when they bring things to me along those lines is, are you being taken advantage of, or are you letting someone take advantage of you?
Yep, that's a great way of putting it too.
Yeah, and I always question people when they bring stuff to me like that, because they get, upset because they feel like they're being taken advantage of. And I always kind of turn it back on them and say, okay, now let's really look at things. Are they taking advantage of you? Are they manipulating you? Are they trying to deceive you? Or are they just taking what you're giving them? And if you continue to give and they can continue to take, that's not on them.
Yeah.
That's on you. You need to stop giving. If you stop giving and then they turn it around and they are jerks because of it, then you might have some issues that you need to be addressing and taking up with them. But you can't get mad at them if you keep giving and they keep taking and you don't say anything. You can't really be mad at someone.
Well, you can, but you're just playing the victim. That's just flat out it. And anybody can feel what they want to feel, but I guarantee you're falling into another category.
Absolutely. You're right, because feelings are feelings. Yep. They're facts. They're not nouns. Or they're nouns, not action items. Nouns, not verbs. I'm having trouble with words today, folks. I apologize.
Wording.
Yeah.
Wording. So something we're going to talk about today.
Well, really quick. Because I don't think I heard, did you say your win for the week? Was it just being of service to others and such? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, being of service and taking care of myself so I can be of service.
Okay, good enough.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about something, 6 ways to live in the moment. Because something, Brian, you actually mentioned before the podcast started that I think is really important is that we build the city of our future. We build these building blocks for our future. And sometimes they get knocked down and we have to take a look at them and rebuild them in a different way. Living in the moment does not mean just letting the future take care of itself completely.
Right.
Living in the moment is making sure you're present, you're here, you're taking in everything that's going on around you in the moment, but also keeping an eye on the future, folks. Because as we all well know, especially financially, I think is a really big example of this. If you live in the moment financially and don't plan anything for the future, you could get yourself kind of in a pickle real quick. So you kind of want to just keep a loose eye on the future, but really today we're going to be focusing on living in that moment and living in the today. So to do so, there's an article that I found on GAIAM, I do apologize if I'm saying that wrong, GAIAM.com.
Okay. I said, okay.
Oh. 6 ways to live in the moment. The idea of living the moment has inspired a lot of motivational posters and t-shirts, but it's a really important concept. You've probably heard several variations. Live like there's no tomorrow. Live as if you'll die today. Living in the moment takes practice. But when you learn how to live this way, you will lead a fuller life and appreciate the beauty in every activity, every second of the day. Here's 6 ideas to help you live in the moment. Okie dokie. Focus on the now. In order to live in the moment, you need to focus on the now. Focus on what you're doing. Shut off TV, turn off the computer, slow down, savor the present. Jay Dixit, senior editor of Psychology Today, refers to this as mindfulness, or being with your thoughts as they are. According to Dixit, living for the moment by practicing mindfulness reduces stress, boosts your immune system, lowers blood pressure, and has other beneficial physical and mental effects. Dixit adds that mindful people are more secure and have higher self-esteem and are happier. Oh, what do you think, guys?
It makes sense,
Yeah, can't disagree.
Yeah, it's reducing stress reduces stress. I mean, that's it makes sense. Life's just better with less stress.
Mindfulness is once again an active state of being.
Mm-hmm.
This comes down to kind of making choices and getting to a point where you can make choices about how you want your day to be. Well, and we've hit on so many already when you talked about the, 9/10 perception.
Yep.
We can be the master of our own domain if we choose to. And one of the tools to do that is mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And that comes down to a simple thing is if you do get, knocked off your rocker for a moment, your next encounter is up to you how it goes.
Yes.
And if we're mindful and we're truly in the moment and not in what just happened, because this is how I like to view karma, is when we allow something that just happened in our past to affect what's happening now or what's about to happen. That's a choice. If you're mindful and you go, okay, that really just knocked me off my rocker, but this is a whole new moment here and I'm going to approach this fresh. That's where I think where people like, and it's kind of, we've mentioned it here already a couple times where it's like this, being in the moment is not a passive thing. It's quite an active thing. It really is.
Mm-hmm. There's a line from The Lion King, which, there it is. I want to bring it up here. I love this one. It has to do with, I think you can find it here. It takes place when Simba and Rafiki are meeting when he becomes a teenager for the first time. And they're talking about him going back, and he doesn't want to go back because of his past. And Rafiki, all right, I'm trying to bring it up.
Hits him in the head with the stick, and then says, Simba says, "Ow, that hurt." And Rafiki says, "Yeah, the past can hurt." And I can't remember from there.
There it is.
Or it doesn't matter. It's in the past. That's what it is, or something like that. It's been a while since I've seen it. So.
So Rafiki's like, so he hits him in the head, and Simba's like, ow, that hurt. And Rafiki kind of shrugs his shoulders. And he's like, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. And then Rafiki goes to hit him on the head again, and Simba ducks out of the way. And Rafiki starts laughing. So there you go.
Yep. There's your choice.
Yep. There's your choice. Remember, folks, we always talk about that. You always have a choice. There's never a situation that you don't have a choice. You may not like your choices, but you always have a choice. You can take control of your situation. So focus on the now, savoring and relishing life in the moment, whether eating a meal, drinking a cup of coffee, or walking to the store, elicits happiness and other positive emotions. So savor your cup of coffee, put the phone down, enjoy the moment, enjoy what you're doing.
Again, that makes sense, because that's literally being in the moment, paying attention to what you're doing rather than just kind of aimlessly drifting,
And put your phone down, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also once again practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anytime that you talk about meditation, those kind of things, practice, mindfulness, practice. This is also a thing that I find for myself is practice. It's a choice again that, this is one of these moments where I can, like you said, put the phone down, not have something in my headphones, whatever, be quiet, think about my breathing only, whatever it is. But it's a good thing to practice so that when you do need it, it's there for you.
Yep.
Absolutely. The second thing is pay attention to the small things. Notice the world around you, the small things. Be thankful for them. Living for the moment and taking notice of the small things will help you cultivate more positive experiences. Cheryl Rainfield, an artist and writer, recommends you pay attention to the little things to make you happy, like eating ice cream, blowing bubbles, or listening to music, as these things can make a huge difference in how you feel.
Right. Yeah, sure enough. Yep. It really is. Like, the idea of living in the moment really comes down to, like you said, when you put stuff down and you start paying attention to things. It's very similar to, like, in grounding techniques, that people use for anxiety. It's, put your feet on the floor, picture, like, in your mind, see it, or when you touch something, what do you feel? Like, you're giving you're taking your senses all the way down to their base. And then you kind of, like, realizing that, oh, this is a chair handle, or arm that I'm holding on to. Oh, it's got this much texture. And then you really kind of start doing these things. And now all of a sudden you're experiencing what is around you versus, ignoring what happens to be around you. I bet most people, if they went on a walk, if you said, okay, I need you to walk from one end of the street to the other end of the street, and then at the end of the street, you meet them there and you go, okay, now tell me everything you saw on the street. Most people are going to go, well, Facebook said this, or, so that's where, like, putting the phone down and stuff really helps you out, because versus if you walk, even if you don't have the phone up, like, you're at least going to look around and notice some things. Like, yeah, there was a guy backing in weird on his, with his truck, or there was, someone was taking their dog outside. You'll just pick up a few things, even if you're not really studying, but you're still going to get cues from your eyes, or, the road's really uneven back there, or, those kind of things. So, and again, now you've just lived in the moment essentially on your walk rather than drifting from one end of the street to the other, and I go, well, what did you see on the way? And you're like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a great thing for mindfulness is that idea of, like, okay, where am I right now? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What am I supposed to be doing at this moment? And that's part of developing that technique of being mindful and gaining awareness.
And breaking it down. I mean, sometimes it's something as simple as, you find yourself overwhelmed by all the craziness of life, and things are just moving around you so quick. Ground yourself and live in that moment. Just take that moment, start with your toes and clench each and every muscle one at a time, all the way up to the top of your head, and release it all out. Take a deep breath, take a look around, listen, and touch each sense. What do I smell? What do I hear? What do I see?
Yeah.
What do I taste? What do I feel? Just go through each one of those systematically and just really try to get yourself in touch with exactly where you are, exactly in this one moment, split second. and then try going back to what you were doing, and you will find yourself lighter, less stressful, more centered, and it will become easier. And then pretty soon you don't have to use the techniques of tightening each muscle or, another thing is if you have the opportunity to close your eyes, purposely stare at the back of your eyelids. It's really hard to do and hard to keep that focus because naturally your eyes roll back when you close your eyelid. Your eyes naturally roll back. So by you staring at the back of your eyelids, you are forcing your body to do something that is unnatural and it takes focus. And by doing that focus, you clear the mechanism, as Brian has mentioned before, from Caddyshack, I think it is.
For the love of the game.
Nope. For the love of the game. Thank you. Clear the mechanism and go through again. What do I feel? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I see? Go through each and every one of those things, settle yourself down, get yourself in that moment, and then continue on. So, pay attention to the small things. I think I kind of went off track on that one, but we got the point. Smile. Smile, everyone. Smile. If you want to know how to live in the moment, you just have to take a look in the mirror and smile. It can influence how you feel. Scientific American Mind magazine reports that making an emotional face influences how we feel. The magazine adds that there's an association in our mind between how we feel and how we react. If we feel happy, we smile. If we smile, it makes us feel happy. Our face communicates our state of mind to others and to ourselves. So smile, it will make you happier and help you appreciate life in the moment.
I would like to apologize to everyone who shared, who's going to have this knowledge shared with them over time, because when it was first shared with me, my first reaction was, because anyone with depression can't stand being told, or, whatever, just smile. There is some science to it, but it's not going to cure depression.
No,
there's a
you're right.
big difference in the two. It can give you a temporary boost? Yes. There's nothing wrong with that. And really, I've read things by people with depression that talk about how they've had to practice smiling so that it becomes, something that they do regularly. And, which sounds really kind of terrible, honestly, but some people, that's what they have to do. And, but over time you do that more and more. And like Henno said, you practice, and then eventually, it feels like a normal response instead of kind of wanting to go through the world with, just a, meh look on your face.
Exactly.
Yeah. And a lot of that comes down to that whole, act as if. And yeah, that's all easy to say.
Yeah.
And believe me, I've rolled my eyes over that one a lot. Because,
yeah.
Like, what's my reference? Like, seriously, but as I've had some experiences, it's something that I need to be reminded when I'm not in the right place, when I'm not the right size, when I'm not, when I'm definitely acting out and my character defects are getting the best of me, is, okay, can I act as if, at least to be in service for everyone that's around me right now, so they don't have to have a full dose of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Because that's what it comes down to, is if I'm not in a good place, if I'm miserable, if I'm just overtly sad or whatever it is, can I pull it together and act as if? And that doesn't mean not feel, not, those kinds of things. And that's where I think where mindfulness and these practices are very important, because I can't tell you how many times when life's somebody that I know and they're suddenly trying to figure out how they can get a hold of meditation because their brain is all over the place. And it's like, not now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How can I get the voices to stop? Well, not now.
Yeah. It's so much
you
harder.
Haven't been practicing.
Yeah. It is so hard to just out of nowhere do something. Again, it's why if you watch like combat sports of any kind, MMA or whatever, it's why, or athletes of any kind, that's why they go through the mundane stuff over and over and over and over, because in the heat of the moment, when your anxiety's at its height or your body goes into fight or flight, then it becomes second nature. You don't have to think of your strategy when you get punched in the face. You'll kind of like, okay, this is what I trained for. You kind of can slip into your training. And this is the same thing. When life punches you in the face, this gives you the ability to slip into hey, I need to get my hands up. I gotta protect my face here. So
true.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line. You kind of have to make sure that there's a fine line between fake it till you make it, or smiling to kind of help the situation go through, and hiding behind a smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Just make sure you don't go too far.
Yeah, the difference
Smiling
in this, in this is literally to look in the mirror and smile at yourself. And you can go even further. And like I've said before, when you look in the mirror at yourself, smile and say 2 or 3 things that you like about yourself, or I'm good enough. I'm good enough as I am, I am enough. Like Heno said, I am right sized for this, whatever, like whatever you need it to be, even if it's stuff that just seems ridiculous, it makes a big difference,
Yep. Even if you make yourself smile because of the ridiculousness,
exactly.
You've done something good.
Yep.
All right, perform random acts of kindness. Random acts of kindness, those selfless acts that help others, help you live for the moment of making others smile and making you smile as well. Random acts of kindness are just that, random. They're spontaneous in the moment and a great addition to your daily life.
Yeah, and this comes down to the idea that it's very difficult to be in resentment. It's very difficult to be in a future casting situation or regretting your past when you're being of service to somebody else.
That's true. Yeah.
All of a sudden, your issues seem to be smaller, and they just kind of fall away or fall to the side for a moment, for that moment when you're in service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a reason why 12-step programs push service. It's because of that simple fact.
Yeah.
Is when people come in and they're not well, there's no better way to get out of your own head than to go help somebody else.
Yeah.
And it is sometimes the only thing that can keep someone feeling somewhat sane, sober, whatever you want to call it, than going out and helping other people. Go volunteer. Call a friend. Hey, that is down. Okay, is there anything I can do for you? Get out of yourself.
Yeah.
For a moment.
Being of service doesn't have to mean it can. There's nothing wrong with, like going to, a soup kitchen and volunteering, or a hospital or something. But it doesn't even have to be that kind of thing. It can be a way smaller to where it's just like Heno just said, calling someone and, or like if someone's having a rough go at the moment, call them and say, hey, you want me to pick up a pizza and just hang out tonight? Or, sometimes it's that simple, or
it doesn't even, it can even be as simple as you see a stranger walking down the street and you say, hey, those are really great shoes.
Yeah.
Or, your hair looks really awesome. Whatever it is, it has to be truthful. It has to be honest. It has to be truthful. It has to be spontaneous. That's where that comes from. And especially in those situations, say hi to a little kid. When they say hi to you, say hi back.
Yeah.
Smile and wave at them. If you're behind a school bus and you see the kids looking out the windows at you, smile and wave at them. Yes, you may get flipped off, but those are the kids. You still did a good thing. Ultimately, just...
You took one for the team.
Exactly. You
really,
took one
yeah.
for the team.
Yeah.
But all little tiny things that you do, all of a sudden it makes you feel better, and you'll get this little jolt of good energy.
Yeah.
You just feel good. And so, keep it basic, keep it simple, but keep it meaningful and truth. If it's coming from anywhere other than a place of truth, then I think it doesn't go over as well, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So, give thanks.
Yeah.
Be thankful. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But it isn't always. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving for you to feel grateful and express that gratitude. Every now and then, remember to stop and take stock of just how good you have it. When your friend makes you smile, thank her for being in your life. When your boss gives you new tasks, say thank you. Remember that you still have a job and can put food on the table. When you think it or feel it, say it right then. Live in the moment by expressing your gratitude when you feel it.
That's a great one, actually.
Yeah.
And there's so many reasons. Go ahead, everybody else. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's very hard to be in a place of resentment when you're full of gratitude.
Yeah, very much.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. When you're walking down the street and you're feeling so, it comes back to the same thing that we've talked about recently about how when you make a new connection with somebody, when you find that potential love mate, whenever it is, you get that new job. Something happens in your life that makes you just walk a foot above the ground. Are you nothing gets to you. You're not resentful.
Yeah.
This is the same idea. And it's to find the things that you can be grateful for. Make those gratitude lists. Make a commitment to just go through your day being grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. It is a great defense against resentment and just butt heads.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
But
Plus,
it is what to do.
It also allows you to look at like situations where, how many times has there known someone or you've heard the stories about how, someone, I wish I could say, I wish I could have said goodbye, or I wish I would have said I love you, or what, it's like, again, another reason to show these gratitudes because, you just never know. Life can be very short for some people. You may only get a certain amount of, short amount of time with somebody. So, it's always a good time to do that kind of stuff. Let people know you appreciate them, that, what they're doing means a lot to you. And again, doing that kind of stuff encourages people to continue behaviors. So if you like that they're being of service to you and helping you through a difficult time, tell them so that they'll continue to do so, So it works for everybody.
And it also helps with the big P word, that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When you are thankful for something, it helps put things into perspective. Work is always a big one. So you're at work and you're really frustrated and irritated that, maybe Bob isn't doing as much work as you are and you have to take the brunt of it. And, and you just get very, very disgruntled and just cranky about the whole thing. If you stop and say, you know what? I do have a job. I enjoy my job. Yeah, it stinks that maybe he's not doing as much as I am, but I'm still thankful for being here, thankful for being in this moment, thankful for being able to bring money home and put food on my table and pay my bills and stuff. All of a sudden, that resentment doesn't have any room in you, and it doesn't have any place to grow or has any place to take root. So it starts to fade away, and pretty soon you can look at things a little differently. And maybe you perceived that Bob was not doing as much work as you are. Maybe Bob was working on a project that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
So by taking that moment and backing off and making it more about you versus about what him or anyone else is doing, all of a sudden you've opened yourself up to see things in a different light.
Yeah, it's really hard to, and I've had this experience at work when I had an employee that was just always out to just get me all the time. And, I came across him one day and he was just he was frustrated. He was losing it. He was angry. He was flipping out. And it's like, last place I wanted to be was there with him.
Uh-huh.
But I had a choice. I could help him. So I said, hey, why don't we go? He was so upset about the fact that he didn't have something right there. And it's like, well, I'll go get it for you. I'll be right back. And it felt great. I got it. I got back to him. I can't fix him. He's going to be whatever he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But at that moment, I made a choice of like, this guy again.
Yeah.
Or, hey, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, you've been the biggest dirtball to me ever.
Yeah.
How can I help you? There's a win for the week. Awesome. Mm-hmm. I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
People always tell me in this positive narcissism, I have to put that out there because it's uncomfortable for me to say, but a lot of feedback that people give me is that you're so nice. You're too nice, and, the way I look at that is I'm not, it comes across as me being nice, but I'm being the person I want to be.
That's it.
And that's what, and that's exactly what you did, is that you took a look at the moment and you're like, no, the person who I want to be, the person who I am, is a person that is of service to others and helps others despite whether they deserve it or not. I'm not in a place of judgment.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, it's like it's not about you deserving it. It's about me being who I want to be. And the person I want to be does not pass judgment, does not sit in hierarchy and say, you deserve good things. You do not. No, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. Can I be that person sometimes? Absolutely. Do I have it in me? 100% I have it in me.
Yeah.
And I have to work against it constantly. But I think it's part of this living in the moment of being thankful, of trying to be of service to others, to recognizing the little things. All of that helps me to become this super nice person that people see me as. Yeah, it's great. I love being known as being the nice person, but even better than that, to me, I know that I'm being true to who I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sharon had that thrown at her at work recently, and I'm like, really? That's the complaint? You're too nice?
Right.
That you get along with everyone too easily?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a problem. It's.
Yep, and it's because people perceive it as such a weakness that
they do, and that's how it was brought up as a weakness. And what it was, the person saying it. It's the spot it, you got it thing.
Yeah,
you don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You wish you did. You're jealous.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just said more about who you are than you did about the other person, and it really does that idea of, I'm a person that's capable of getting in my head on things. I can't afford justified resentments. I just can't.
Yeah. Right.
Because I get in my head easily.
Yep.
I'm better off not having them at all. I just am.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's an old cheer that's back from high school, the cheerleaders used to do. And it's like, get it, got it, and let it go. And that's really where it pops in my head at the oddest moments, but I always think about that. It's like, okay, I get it, I got it, and I let it go. Just move it on. Because I can't live in it, because if I live in it, it's going to ruin my day, it's going to ruin my week, it's going to take hold of me, and I got to keep it moving, keep that emotional stuff going, and feel it, enjoy it, and let it go, and move to the next thing. Well, the last one is don't worry. Don't worry, be happy, folks.
Yes, she is.
I had to go there. We're talking about being happy, and don't worry. Yep. Exactly.
Right.
The life of emoticons and all this other stuff that we have going on right now, don't worry, be happy. That big smiley face of the 90s, or was it 90s or 2000s?
I don't remember, honestly.
I'm pretty sure it was the 90s. It's much harder than it sounds, but try to remember that worrying today won't change what happens tomorrow. Every second you spend and worry about the future is a second of the present wasted, because worrying takes you out of the moment and transports you into the realm of future possibilities. It's impossible to live in the moment and worry at the same time. Instead, if circumstances are troubling, focus on ways you can solve an existing problem now or otherwise improve the current moment. Spending time focused on what may happen down the line robs you of fully experiencing what's happening now. Life in the moment moves quickly. Do not miss it.
And that's another one that is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, it is. Flat
out. It takes a lot of practice. And that is one of the things that I've worked on probably the most. And there's a whole step devoted to that in 12-step programs.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically this whole idea of letting go of what you have no control over.
Yeah.
Only letting go of this worry. It's like, once again, where are you? What can you do about it today? Nothing. All right. Well, then don't let it rent space in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let people rent space in your head. It comes back to all these things.
Yeah.
This whole idea of, but I have to figure this thing out. Do you? Have you just given it control of you? Mm-hmm. That's for me, the paradox of where, and this is for me where higher power comes in. It's just a concept. If I can just give it over to someone else for a while, I get control. How is that possible? Well, I get control of this moment right now. And it doesn't matter if I turn it over to a freaking coffee cup right now.
Yeah, it's true.
It doesn't matter what it is. My dog. Any object. But the point being is that whatever you're worried about, whatever that is occupying your brain, if you can turn it over to something else, just for now, and say, you know what, you take this. This is where, how about you take this for a while? I need to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
In that, I just gained control of my life, if I can do that.
Right.
That person walking down the street, did they just look at me funny? No, I'm sorry, you're just not that important.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
if you stop worrying.
Even if they did, who cares?
Well,
that's where you have to. Yeah.
The thing with people looking at you funny as you're walking down the street, it's like every time you have that thought, just remember at some point in many, many people's lives, there's been someone who's waved at someone and you've waved back, but they were waving at the person behind you, or blown a kiss, and like that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it could just as easily be that situation where maybe they're not looking at you. They're mean mugging someone who drove by, or, whatever else. It may have zero to do with you. Yeah. Your ego is making it about you.
Exactly.
Not them. Your ego is, and now if they say something to you, they've made it about you. Otherwise, it's you making it about you.
and now you just took up how many minutes of your day wondering what somebody else is thinking? Yeah, because you're comparing your insides with their outsides.
Right. Well, plus then you're going to go to work and tell all your there was this jerk that was and get home
and now you're spreading the disease.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like.
Somebody mentioned taking the power back.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
It really is.
This is what it is.
It's what it's all about.
The moment.
Yeah.
Living in the moment is not giving up on the future. It's not. It's like I've said a million times. You can have your misery back. It's not letting go of the past. It's still there for you. It's having the choices to decide right now. How important is it going to be right now in this moment? How much am I going to let this in? And this does not mean that we don't have visions. This does not mean that we don't prepare. This does not mean that we don't make plans.
Yeah.
But what it does is it means that we concern ourselves with what's truly worth concerning ourselves in a way that gets you through this day, so that tomorrow's an even better day.
Yeah.
That's how I've been taught to look at this. And it really is like, I shared this just recently about this whole Christmas thing. Well, what do I do at Christmas time when everyone's pouring drinks? Well, is it Christmas today? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't you worry about when it's Christmas?
Right.
Yep.
Do what you need to do today. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot easier. There's one thing just off my shoulders.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm an amazing future caster. I'm good at it. I've perfected it. And I'm really even better at dredging up the past. I'm so much better when I just live for today.
Yeah.
It makes things so less overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's just not as overwhelming when you start living for the moment, living for the day, and you just find yourself all around happier.
Well, that's where peace comes to me often.
Peace, yeah.
Would you like to be at peace within yourself? Like, I used to look at people that seem to be oblivious to what's going on around them. Like, how can you not see what's going on in the world today? How can this not affect you?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know what just happened today in Washington, D.C.? How can you live like this?
Yeah.
Quite easily. Peacefully.
Yep. Exactly.
It's that
Can
simple.
I directly affect it right now? I can't?
No.
Then it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's not like it's, people say, oh, I wish it, it's like you're just a silly buffoon. You don't know. No. I've made a choice that I don't want this to bother me right now, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I used to admire those people because guess what? I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I was, and as a result, I tend to be more concerned about what you're thinking and what you're doing rather than what I'm doing right then and there.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have suddenly all sorts of opinions of how you should live your life and how you should change your situation so that your tomorrow will be better while I'm living in a total hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm batting about 50-50 on that lately. And I want to up my batting average, folks. So
I just want to point out really quick that future casting and most of this other stuff we've talked about on today's podcast, the negative stuff. Distorted thinking worksheet stuff. Yep. Again, see what I mean? When I first told you about this, and I'm like, you're going to see how often this stuff comes up. And it's almost every week I can point right back to it because it's so common. Again, when we were talking about practice, that worksheet is a list of things to not practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
these are the things
practice the opposite. Yeah. It'd be like for an athlete or something, they just give you a list of exercises that are really bad for you. And it's like, don't do any of these,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
I have a friend of mine that talks about, he brings up the Seinfeld, the Bizarro episode.
Yes.
Where I'm going to do the opposite of everything I've instinctually wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And see how that works out.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. I'm not the tuna fish guy anymore. I'm the egg salad guy. Yeah. It's that's a great example of that. And I tried that at one point too. Like the exact same thing George Costanza does in that episode is that he quits anything he would have normally done. He just does the opposite, whatever his gut tells him. And I tried that for a while because, for a long time I was always like, I'm going to trust my gut on this. And I just kind of kept falling into places I didn't want to be. And so I was like, well, clearly, my instincts stink. I have to do the opposite. And I realized that it didn't work either. All it was that I was trying to control outcomes too much, really, looking back at it, And
instead of controlling the action, you were trying to control the outcome.
Exactly, yeah. Instead of looking at my actions that were leading to those bad results, I was just going, well, if I do this, the universe will correct. Clearly it's because I'm picking tuna fish instead of egg salad. Clearly that is the catalyst in my misery,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be for me because I don't like egg salad, but whatever.
Well, that being said, said, I think we're at the point where we're wrapping up. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great set of tips there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really good.
Yeah, that was a good article that I found. I like that website. I'll have to check it out some more.
Yeah.
It's the GM or GM?
I don't know. Let's not try to pronounce it.
Let's not butcher any information.
We'll have the link in the show notes if Jen sends them to me.
There we go, folks.
Yeah.
Look it up via the link.
Right.
So if you want to continue the conversation, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can also reach us at our website, which is the Crazy Life Podcast.weebly.com. Our email address, which is the Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com. And you, Henno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Henno, and you can find me on Facebook, Henno Heiter.
And you, Brian?
You can reach me at on Twitter at Stunami. You can also follow the show at the Crazy Life Pod on Twitter. You can check out our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. Where else is? Oh, you can check out the other podcast I'm part of, which is Salty Language. Our Twitter handle is at salty_language, or you can find everything you need for that show at saltylanguage.com. The show is very not safe for work.
T-shirts.
Yes, I know. I was just looking at that too.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
We can talk about that, but I also do a bumper.
I don't know. Well, let me finish this up real quick here, because we're, at least get the links out of here. Oh, actually, that is all the links, isn't it? Okay. Because the only problem with talking about it right here is there's a chance that when we hit that part of the show to where Jen starts going, if you want to continue, there's a good chance people just scrub past
People just went bump. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll have to, maybe we can record something and put it at the front of the show. So
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So as always, we like to remind everybody that we're not therapists, doctors, trained professionals of any kind. The show should not be seen as a replacement for therapy. If you think you need help, please seek out a professional. They can, you can get a good game plan going for fighting whatever you need to fight, or whatever it is. If you need resources like ways of finding a therapist, or if you're worried about the money for paying for a therapist or a doctor visit, check out our Facebook group. There's a page of links on the Facebook group under like notes or something like that. Or check out NAMI.org, because they're real good about that kind of stuff. Or contact one of us. We can set you up with links. If you're feeling homicidal or suicidal, please do not act on these things. Let someone in your support system know immediately. And I'm talking like if you start realizing that you're writing a suicide note, or planning harming others or yourself, these kind of things, make sure you reach out to someone. Go see a professional if you can. If you're having that kind of an emergency, call 911, go to a hospital and tell them that you're having a mental health crisis, and they will help you. If you want the help, it's out there. There's all sorts of people dedicated to helping people. You just gotta, you gotta reach out on your end too. And, but please don't do anything to yourself or others, of course. So, yeah. And then last, of course, I point out, to please reach out to people, as we talked about earlier in the show. It makes you feel good. It may make them feel good. It's just a win-win situation. And, if even if it's just telling somebody that you appreciate them, appreciate what they've done for you, or that you love them or whatever, just, now's a great time. Don't wait until it's too late to do those kind of things. Let people know now. Like I said, you just never know. How many times when you're having a bad day does someone just, like Jen said, like, hey, I really like that shirt, or nice hair, or whatever, it just kind of brightens your day. So, yeah. All right.
All right. That being said, everyone, have a great week. Make sure that you recognize the small things and throw out some compliments. Be generous with them, because it makes you feel good and makes them feel good. That being said, keep smiling, keep breathing, and wiggle those toes.